Greetings, drinking buddies. Today we're going to be going over the top 5 bottles of new released whiskeys that you should be hunting this summer.
I'm your drinking buddy.
Alright, drinking buddies, before we get started, what am I drinking today? Well, I decided to do a little blend experiment. So this one's going to be equal parts Four Roses Single Barrel, which is a high rye, and Garrison Brothers Wheated Bourbon. I thought maybe these two bottles might play nicely with each other. And the only thing I really have to go on is the fact that this one's really heavy on the high rye and this one's really heavy on the young, grain-forward bourbon, wheated bourbon thing. And I thought maybe they might complement each other. So let's see how I did. Okay, well, the Garrison Brothers totally took over the nose. It's very grain-forward, young bourbon sweetness. But there's a little bit of that high rye thing going on the tail end of the nose. Okay, so it's kind of interesting because I kind of expected the high rye spicy character to take over from the Four Roses, but realistically, the Garrison Brothers is what took over here. It's really grain forward. There's a little bit of that Texas mesquite quality going on, and it's pretty sweet, and the rye spice is almost non-existent. Yeah, that's really interesting what I did there. I basically just made more Garrison Brothers, which is kind of wild. Which, you know, it's funny. 4 grains often to me taste like they don't have rye in them at all. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe the wheat flavor just completely takes over. Just a theory. So top 5 bottles that you should be hunting this summer. First up, some honorable mentions. I am still seeing Stag Junior Batch 17 out there. So it's still hitting stores. So if you haven't gotten a Stag Junior Batch 17, be on the lookout. Look for Stag Junior Batch 17 because it's excellent. And you know, at retail, it's such a bargain. It's $60 at retail. So definitely Stag Junior Batch 17. Next up is going to be, for the honorable mentions, still haven't seen BRT01, the Maker's Wood Finishing Series for the beginning of this year. Still hasn't hit stores, so that one I'm definitely going to be looking for. But I can't highlight it because I talked about it in my spring release calendar video. So I'll link that one in the description too, because some of those bottles still haven't hit stores across the markets. But for my top 5 bottles you should be hunting this summer, so for number 5 is going to be the Castle and Key 99 proof 4-year bourbon. It's hit a few markets. It hasn't hit mine yet, as far as I know, but it's out there. It's $50. I'm hearing good things about it, and I really like the Restoration Rye that they put out. The Restoration Rye was about $10 cheaper, so I'm hoping that extra $10 price point really makes for a quality bourbon. Number 4 is going to be this wild bourbon that I've seen online that is retail only $33, so I'm really excited to look for this one. This is going to be the Jack Daniel's Triple Mash, and this is a really wild one because it's going to be 100 proof, but it's a blend of their mash for their rye, a blend of their mash for their standard Jack Daniel's whiskey, and then a mash for our malt whiskey. Those 3 are blended together, and wow, that just sounds like something I want to taste. It sounds wild. Is it going to be a malt whiskey? Is it going to be a rye? Is it going to be a bourbon? Because Jack Daniel's is a bourbon. We can fight on that on another day. But what will it taste like? I have to find out. So that one will be one I'm hunting for sure. So for number 3, this is going to be another really wild addition to the list. This is going to be Woodford Toasted Oat Grain Bourbon. Or oat grain whiskey. I think it's oat grain whiskey at this point, but oat grains that they've taken and they've aged and they're putting it in a new toasted barrel. It's going to be 90.4 proof. I could not find a price, but if I find one between now and the time that I post this video, I will put it right here. But as far as MSRP, I don't know, but boy, do I want to try this wild project from Woodford. The Woodford projects are very interesting. Some of them are a little bit pricey, and some of them are something that I really want to try, but I don't necessarily need to buy a bottle of. So I gotta get a pour at a bar. This might fit in that category. I think if this is a bottle over $100, I'm gonna want to find a pour of this before I jump right into paying for it. But unfortunately, when it comes to bourbon and rye, when it comes to this stuff, if you say, I gotta try a pour of it first, it's gone. You will never get a chance to try it again. Unfortunately, I've seen that happen with some of these bottles. I didn't want to try it, or I wanted to try it first, so I didn't buy it. I've never seen it since. So, fair warning on that. So number 2 is going to be a very expensive bottle. But the Four Roses 22 limited edition single barrel is going to be coming out, and these are generally a bottle that sells for about $150 on retail. You know, on the secondary they go for a lot more because people are really hunting for these. They're supposedly really good. I've never tasted one, so therefore this year I'm looking for one, and if I have to drop $150, I'm doing it. This is one where FOMO is going to take over, and I'm going to fear of missing out, and if I see it, I'm going to buy it. Even with that high price point, because I've never tasted one before, and all you can do is buy it and taste it, or miss it and you know, never be able to taste it. So on this one, I'm going to be looking for it. And then number 1, and this is going to be kind of a controversial selection for some, because this can be a fairly polarizing bottle. And I think that's because some of the releases are fantastic and some of the releases have been kind of weird. But last year's release was one that I didn't buy because I thought it sounded weird. And, you know, especially because there was a 2-year bourbon mixed in, and I'm like, well, why is this being mixed in for something that's over $100? But when I tasted it, I understood when it was over $100. It did really well in blinds. I really liked it. And this is going to be Little Book. So the new one is going to be Little Book Chapter 6. These generally sell for about $125. I really liked Chapter 5. I really liked Chapter 4. And those are the 2 that I've tasted. But Little Book Chapter 6, be on the lookout, because Chapter 5 was really good. And I don't even know what Chapter 6 is going to be. I tried to find some information on it, and it doesn't sound like it's been released yet, but that one will be hitting stores this summer. Looks like around August. Well, drinking buddies, I got here my weird blend I did. I'm gonna go ahead and call this one a blend fail. You know, you can't win them all. But on my next video, where I do something like this, where we highlight bottles that are upcoming, I'm gonna do another blend and it'll be better than this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.